So it is 1:23 p.m. on May 17th, 2024. And I just wrote the last words on the first draft for Blood from Stone. And I'm trying not to cry. Not only because it was really, really emotional and hard to get through, but also because this has been in the works since I was still married and told that writing was a waste of time and all the things. I'm gonna fucking cry anyway. Oh well, it's fine. So yeah, this is kind of a big deal. So I'm gonna leave it there and let it sit for a couple of days, and then I'm gonna dive into revisions, and I'm going to publish this fucking thing right around what would have been my wedding anniversary, out of spite and willpower and a sense of dramatic irony. So yeah, it's good. Oh my god, it's so good. Like, I was actually getting an adrenaline rush with all of the stuff that's going on in this last chapter. It's a lot. So I'm gonna have to go through and fill in some, not necessarily plot holes, but a lot of things happened in the second half of the manuscript that I want to give more hints toward them in the first half, because I have been writing this for 6 years at this point. So it's taken a while to get to this point. And the next book will not take nearly this long to write, because I know I can do it. And I just finished it. So yeah. There will be other clips added into this, and I guess this is going to be a vlog that'll probably go up sometime next week. Probably either Monday or Wednesday. We will see how things shake out. But yeah, I needed to share that raw moment, because it's not just words on a page. It isn't. There's so much more to it than that. But yeah, I'm going to go cry off camera before my face gets really, really ugly from it, because it's totally going to happen. And I'm going to get my shit together and go get my kids from school and then go to my day job, because that's how things work out. So I will talk to you in the next clip. to May 22nd, 2024, where I became insane with horrible intervals of sanity. So, as you saw from the previous clip, I finished the first draft of my book, Blood from Stone, and am very much going to have that done for publication in mid-June. Yes! However, I have it all in this nifty folder that this actually glows in the dark, because glow-in-the-dark stuff is just my thing. It just is. But it ended up being with the typeface that I used and with a few formatting errors, which I made note of. I like to do a pass with paper edits because I find it's easier for me to spot mistakes when it's on paper in front of me. So this ended up being 171 pages. It's like 98,000 words. I did find a spot where I needed a little more explaining, so I have a spot marked off to write. I don't want to say a filler chapter because that makes it sound like it's not important, and it is important, but I need to write that chapter. But I just got done writing the serial chapter for today for the Infernalia Chronicles, which I've been publishing weekly for a little while now. I'm going to be doing one more next week that's going to wrap up this whole first arc. It's going to bring me somewhere in the range of like 22K-ish for the first big chunk of it, which I'm thinking of releasing all together digitally as an ebook, just to have something extra published. And then once I've got a book-sized amount of arcs done, so probably like first 3 arcs, the way I'm writing this serial, it could run perpetually. We're talking Young and the Restless soap opera levels of this world is so huge. And there are so many characters within it that I could probably riff in this universe and do an ensemble cast thing for years. But I'm going to kind of run it with this one main character for a bit and like her and a few characters for a couple of chapters, then bring in 1 or 2. They have a thing. A few of them branch off and do their own thing. It's the way I'm writing it, it's very much like a TV show. Think Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Supernatural. What would be some other good comps to compare it to? I can't really think of any off the top of my head right now. But the best way that I found to describe my serial is anime-inspired action horror drama. I'm kind of avoiding stepping into romance with this because I'd kind of like this to be a smut-free series or only with implied smut, just to prove to myself that I can, because with Blood from Stone, I love her very, very much, but it is very, very, very like 5-alarm ghost pepper Sriracha ain't got nothing on me level spicy. And as creative and inventive as I like to get, there are only so many ways that you can write certain acts before it feels repetitive. And I feel like I have just the right amount in here where there's enough variety that it still makes you go ooh, and you're not like, again? Really? Are you? Girl ain't gonna be walking straight for weeks. And that's true. However, that's why with Infernalia Chronicles, I'm kind of trying to dodge that. Because I've got plenty of that in the series, and that's how you keep it fresh, is by doing different things, right? Not by just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Hi, I'm Randy. Welcome to the Darq Project, which is me finding a way to live a meaningful and creatively fulfilling life and sharing the journey with all of you. Got all of the line edits done on the paper. I have to plug these into the computer still, but I spent the better part of today getting this serial chapter done. It only ended up being about 1,400 words, and I had a lot of in-between things. I am dealing with the joys of hormones, so everything hurts. I've gone back and forth between migraines all day. I've been trying to caffeinate, hydrate, eat, apply heat. I even went for a 1.07 mile walk in the nearby cemetery because there's nowhere safe to just walk outside here. And nobody is going to mess with a woman walking by herself in a cemetery. That's facts. Don't have to worry about getting shot, stabbed, or stolen while I'm walking there, and it's great. So I had a chat with my mom on the phone while I went for that walk, and it was good. And you will have also seen a clip in here that'll be a time lapse of me uprooting, unfortunately, I think they were salmon sunblaze roses that I got myself last year for Mother's Day that did not survive the winter, despite the fact that allegedly they are flowers that come back every year. Well, guess what? They didn't. I spent weeks fertilizing, watering, attempting to resurrect them, and even my necromancer plant thumb couldn't manage to bring those poor babies back. So I got another orange rose. They are operetta roses, I believe, and it says that the spread on them is like 2 to 3 feet, which means the pot that I have them in may not work long term, but I just have my itty bitty patio and there's only so much I can do, so we'll see how it goes, I guess. But these are tea roses and they're gonna have big blooms, like this big. But I actually save and dehydrate the petals from the roses that I grow because I know there's no pesticides on them, and use them in the face wash that I make for myself. So that's good. And I like flowers. I would love to have a food garden, but I have a patio and I have 2 plants, and we're not really supposed to have plants or bird feeders or anything because they want you to just have a bare, empty expanse, so it looks like nobody lives here. My raspberry plant is doing quite well. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that in the clip from when I was repotting the new rose plant or not. But yeah, I'm excited for that. And it was like 80 degrees last week, and now I think the high for today was supposed to be 60. It was maybe 56, 57 when I went for my walk. It was comfortable, but it was nice when the sun was out last week, which the sun's definitely not been out this week. We need the rain, but I'm over the rain at this point. So anyway, book stuff mixed with life stuff, because that's just how it goes sometimes. I have been trying to figure out for the longest time how I wanted to do things on this channel and my audio channel. I've mentioned before that I, for a while, was in the girlfriend ASMR roleplay space, and it was working for a while, and I liked it okay, I guess, in some capacity. I liked the ASMR RP thing well enough, I suppose. It was okay-ish when I wrote my own scripts and stories, but it's still so limiting as a medium. There's only so much you can do when you're telling a story from one point of view, and the only thing you have to show what's going on is the things you would say in normal conversation, ungodly amounts of sound effects and Foley added in, which is such a pain, and and then implying that the person that you're talking to is responding a certain way conversationally, and occasionally having to repeat something that would be implied that they had said to you. And it is a very complicated, convoluted thing when I could just write a story, narrate the story, maybe add some atmospheric music in the background, and call it good. Which is what I'm going to be switching that channel over to, is original fiction narration. I'm probably going to be, well, that's part of the reason that I'm trying to avoid doing any smut with Infernalia Chronicles, because there are definitely many, many chapters in Blood from Stone that I could not narrate on YouTube, because that would get me shut down so fast. Oh my lord. Yeah, no. But Infernalia Chronicles, on the other hand, is, aside from like swearing and a little bit of violence occurring, there's nothing in there that's any worse than what you'd hear on any horror narration channel, honestly. So I was planning on wrapping up a couple of other ASMR series that I've had running over there, but they've been abandoned for so long that I'm not going to make a promise to people that I'm going to spend the time to finish them when, honestly, I have no interest in finishing them anymore. Maybe I will take the stories and write them out as an actual story and narrate that, and people will like it or not. I don't know. We'll see. But I have been so focused on getting this book going the rest of this week and the weekend, because I have an extra day Monday because it's Memorial Day and the kids are with their dad this week, and when it comes to a 3-day weekend, they just stay with whoever they're with for either usually the week before. So that's just the way that shook down this time, and I don't have to work on Monday, because if it wasn't for the holiday, I usually get my kids back from their dad on Monday after they're done with school. I go pick them up, and that's how we do our exchanges, unless it's like holiday or summertime. That's the only time that we have to see each other, and it's nice. I look forward to never having to see him again. Worst case scenario, 9 more years. Actually, 8 more years, because Killian turns 10 in November. Oh, that's even better. But anyway, can you tell that I get salty this time of year? Because in like 3 weeks should have been my 12-year wedding anniversary. And I've reached the point in my life where it doesn't bother me in the same way that it used to, but I don't think there will ever be a year that goes by where I don't at least have a stray thought of, it would have been my wedding anniversary today. Eventually, at some point, I'm sure it will get to only that. There are some years where it makes me feel sad. There are some years where it makes me feel angry. There are some years where I am happy to be only partly under a thumb right now. And sometimes it's like this year where it's just kind of like, oh, meh, whatever. I have to work that day, I think, this year. So it's just another day. And eventually it will just be a day, and that's fine. This year we have been divorced as long as we were married. So 6 and 6. It's weird. I don't think anybody gets married with the intention of not being married anymore someday, so it's very weird to wrap my head around, I guess. I think I'm going to have to get some more coffee after this, because I have so much shit to do, and I don't have to work until 2 p.m. tomorrow, so I am very excited with the way this turned out. I wish I had a few more people reading it so I could get some better feedback about whether the way I led into the ending was too abrupt and too sudden, or if once it happened, they kind of stopped and went, oh, and like all of the connections fired at the same time, and they went, ew, I remember when they foreshadowed that with this spot and this spot and this and this, and it, and it's, it's the pinboard with all of the strings connecting things, and it all makes sense. That's how it feels in my head, but I need to know if it's that way to other people or not. If you're interested in reading it and letting me know, if you go over to the link to reamstories.com/mkdarq, in the description box below the video, you can read, I think, the first 5 chapters are for the public. Chapters, everything from there is for people who are followers and subscribed. I have some other things up for followers. Following is free, doesn't cost anything. If you want to subscribe and throw me a few bucks a month, cool. If not, that is also cool. I understand. But if you do subscribe, then I'm not sure if I'm going to do BookFunnel or something else, but I'm getting a service set up so that people who are subscribed, when a book is published, you will receive the full digital version of it if you are subscribed at any level from the $5 up to the, I think I have a $50 tier is my top one. And there are like other fun perks and stuff, and there will be audiobook things and all the fun stuff. And with my connections through doing voice acting stuff, I considered, but I'm not going to make a fully voiced audiobook. But what I would like to do is enlist some of the awesome VA people that I know to maybe just read a few snippets and do some cool sound bites to use for like TikToks and promo videos. Because some of these people have amazing voices. You have no idea. And these are people just like me who have like home studios, if they have a home studio at all. They've got like a semi-pro microphone. You know, like this guy over here. And I just have Spotify open on my computer right now. I figured it was the least offensive thing that I could have up on the screen that wasn't going to have like all my personal Facebook or Twitter crap showing. But yeah, I think that would be cool. And then I wouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg to get them to do, so I could just throw them a couple of bucks for recording a few minutes of audio for me that I could then use for whatever I wanted and get to spread some love and send some love their way too. My brain has already been running through things for booktube. I do have a partial outline for book 2. But on top of Blood from Stone, I've got a couple of older works that I'm planning on revising and modifying and releasing. It's actually going to be a 3-part novelette series that is based in the same universe as the Infernalia Chronicles that I actually wrote quite some time ago. But I'm going to go through and update everything and actually write the 3rd part, because this is kind of like a prequel to the Infernalia Chronicles, because these 2 characters are the parents of, well, maybe not parents, but maybe like grandparents of the main character in the Infernalia Chronicles. The world building that I did for this serial like a decade ago is ridiculous. I am a big fan of the World of Darkness tabletop role-playing setting. Old World of Darkness, like the original one from when 1.0 of Vampire the Masquerade came out when I was in like high school. I have populations written out for all of the different supernatural races. Like if there's, I think at the time it was only 7 billion people on the planet when I wrote this, then I've got all of the population breakdowns of humans to infernals and half infernals who are called devils and celestials and half celestials which are called ingers and all of these things and werewolves and vampires and all the goodies. But on top of that, I want to finish off the other 2 short paranormal romance novelettes for the, I think I called it the Flash Freeze trilogy. They're little winter themed, very short, like 10K. I think I did 15K for the first one. But very short, very smutty, quick hot read, based in winter but not holiday based, winter based, seasonal, not holiday based. So I wrote the first one, Arctic Dreams. That was the first thing I published this year, which came out on January 1st, because I knew if I didn't get started in the first quarter with that, then I was just going to say fuck it and throw my hands up and wash everything that I had planned to do this year if I couldn't do that. So I forced myself to do it. Is it perfect? No. Is it good enough? Absolutely. I actually even got a few reviews on it. I think I ended up making, between Kindle Unlimited reads and actual sales, I think I ended up making like $16 from it. I haven't been advertising it, and since it's not winter anymore, I'm not really pushing it right now, but it does exist. The first one is called Arctic Dreams, if you're interested. And like I said, there's going to be 2 more of those that I'm planning to put out later in the year. So I want to get one of those written in the next month-ish. I am adding more chapters to my horror microfiction book that I would like to have. If I could get like really lofty goal would be like 100 of those written. They're 150 words or less. I have a mid-list premium Twitter membership, so I can write slightly more than the average length of a tweet. But I've been using just one-word horror prompts that I found on Twitter and have been writing just a short horror story in 150 words or less. And if I could get 100 of those, and since I'm teaching myself digital art, and do 25 to 50, I just want to do like sketchy, inky, very reminiscent of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark art style images that I'm going to draw myself, illustrate myself. If I could do like 100 stories and 25 to 50 pictures, that would make a decent sized paperback. I know that it's not going to have much value digitally, but I think that would be really cool to have in paperback. So that's what I'm going for with that. And then I've got another horror collection that I'm working on that I think is probably going to have to wait until next year. If I'm going to do the microfiction one this year, then this one I'm going to keep chipping away at chapters, but it's probably not going to be ready till next year. But that's going to be a collection of stories that are interwoven but not necessarily quite the same theme. And I can't really explain why, because it'll give away the ending. But it's going to be really cool. And I've got a couple of stories written for that already, and a few more planned. And my whip list is much like when I used to crochet all the time, and my bag of unfinished crochet objects continued to grow with very few things ever getting done. I have another story that I actually did an entire video talking about that I'm not going to post anything of, because if I do, it's going to spoil the whole thing, so I will sum it up thusly. I was in the middle of a shift giving someone a massage, and when you're doing so and you have a client who's like asleep, it's just you and your brain and your mellow, massagey spa music for like a whole hour to go. It's pretty boring. So your brain will wander. So it's perfect time to let the brain ruminate and pickle whatever ideas it wants to ferment and bring to fruition. And in the middle of this shift, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear this female voice say, "The first time my boyfriend killed me, he said it was an accident. The second time he killed me, I couldn't forgive him." And it was kind of like, okay, brain, tell me more, elaborate, go on, show me the things. So now I have what is going to be an extreme horror novella with a romantic subplot running around in my brain. So that's another thing. And then And then another one that came to me while I was at work is a Winnie the Pooh inspired, because Winnie the Pooh's in the public domain now, post-apocalyptic paranormal fantasy isekai. Believe me when I say that it is just so freaking out there, but it is going to be so cool. And I actually want to write this one specifically more in a moderate way, because the kids have been asking to read something I have written, and I keep having to tell them, no, you can't read what I've written because everything I have done right now has sex in it. No. So I want to write that and Infernalia Chronicles with no spice, implied, maybe romance, maybe a little bit. But those are definitely going to be more on the urban fantasy, paranormal side of things, more horror leaning, less smut leaning. Lots of leaning. And in line with the kids wanting to read things that I have written, so I was having a hell of a time getting the printer to do what the printer's got to do, because I have a smart printer. This is the dumbest printer I've ever dealt with in the entirety of my existence, and I have been using computers for a long time, so that is saying something. I was having trouble printing it, but I mean, the way that I have it printed, it's, you know, it's formatted like a book. It's got separate chapters and, you know, all the things. And as I was printing it, my older son, Hunter, who is 11, he'll be 12 in January, was looking at it, and he wasn't actively reading it or anything, because I've warned him, if you see something you might not be prepared for, you can't unsee it, kid. He's like, okay. So he knows better. But he looked at it and he goes, wow, Mom, I didn't know you could write like that when you said that you could write. And I was like, dude, what do you mean? He said, well, you said you were an author, but I didn't think you meant books. I thought you meant like articles and stuff online. But this looks professional. This looks like J.K. Rowling wrote it, if she wasn't a bitch and a bad person. And yes, he actually said if she wasn't a bitch and a bad person. But the fact that he was so in awe that, like, I wrote, but this is a fucking book right here, y'all. This is 171 pages of this. This is going to be probably about 350 regular pages in a book, close to 400 pages, as a book should be. Personal opinion, this 200 pages or less, because attention spans are of goldfish, is nonsense. But whatever, to each their own. People like short stuff, fine. I prefer mass market paperback size books that are about 400 pages. Personal preference. Don't kill me, okay, thanks. He was so in awe that I wrote this that looks like a book, and it almost made me cry. It was like, aw, that's part of the reason why I'm doing this, because I want my kids to be proud of me. I want to do something that makes them glad, that they feel like they can brag about it. And then I also showed them a copy of a book that I published under my old pen name forever ago, that I'll be rehashing that story eventually, because there are nuggets of it that can be used, and I don't want to let it just languish when those characters deserve to get their story finished and told. But he has been told for the longest time that the story I wrote previously was just Twilight fan fiction. So, because he's been hearing grown people, one of two grown people who've never read it, I might add, speak very poorly of it, that he assumed that I just it wasn't a serious thing. It was just a whatever. Like, oh, I'm doing this just for funsies. And I was like, no, sweetie, you don't understand. This is my out from regular work. Within 10 years, I will be doing this full time, and massage may be part-time. We'll see. I don't know. I've been getting pretty messed up physically, and I'm not really about it. It was very encouraging to see him so excited about it. So now I have to write something that he can actually read. Without him going, ew, mom, because you know how kids are. So the plan is I am going to do my damnedest to do something here weekly, even if I can't do a full-length vlog, maybe I'll do 2 or 3 shorts, just for the sake of having something. Maybe read like a soundbite from one of the things I'm working on, something. And then I want to start posting audio chapters of Infernalia Chronicles and some of the other horror things that I'm writing over on the audio channel, which is Darq Dominion, Words That Scorch. It should be linked in the description box below the video. But if you see Darq spelled D-A-R-Q up on the YouTubes or pretty much anywhere, chances are pretty high that that's probably me. Because once I find something that's unique, I stick to it like glue because it's mine. So on that note, I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Keep writing. Remember that you are important and the world deserves to hear your story, and it needs your light now more than ever. Take care, y'all.